Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us for Ladies Let's Go Fishing for our virtual meeting. I'm Betty Bauman, the founder of Ladies Let's Go Fishing. We have 10,000 graduates. We've been working almost 30 years to bring women into fishing and give them a chance to learn, practice, and go fishing. We're going to start with a few things that are coming up for Ladies Let's Go Fishing. And then we will get into Captain Bouncer Smith, who is here ready for you. And thanks to everybody that got raffle tickets. Yeah, we sold enough to draw the raffle, about 80 tickets, so the odds are good. And we have about $6,000 worth of prizes that we're going to give away tonight. Our mission is to bring more women into fishing and rejuvenate lapsed anglers while instilling conservation efforts. We have some great events coming up this year. September 12th, Freshwater Bass Seminar at Best Pro Shops Dania Beach, where we're going to learn, practice, rig up our rods, and have lunch at the Islamorada Fish Company, and then go to the lake in the back where they have peacock and other bass. October 16th to the 18th is our Keys Weekend Seminar. The event on Saturday is a full-day seminar with inshore and offshore fishing, tips, speakers, practice casting, net casting, spin casting. Friday is the kickoff. Fishing is Sunday, and we have some casual awards, pen rods and reels, and famous art prints for winners who catch the biggest fish offshore or the longest fish inshore. And there's a kickoff party on Friday. That's what I like. Everybody gets to meet each other. Then we have November 21st to the 22nd for beach fishing in St. Augustine, surf fishing with Noelle Kuhn. And we will learn on the beach and go fishing. Next year coming up, the Islamorada Women's Sailfish Tournament, February 5th through the 7th. Registration is online. This is a world-class ladies tournament. Be sure to sign up for that, and we do have charter slots if you don't have a boat. So a few other things for next year. We'll be doing a Harvard's offshore fishing trip in Madeira Beach in March, our inshore seminar in Fort Myers, April offshore in Fort Lauderdale. They all offer fishing. We'll be doing a Naples, Florida bottom fishing trip. And then in May, screaming reels for ladies that just want to get on the boat and learn it in the Keys. And then the rest will be also on our website. We had a great time at Isla Mujeres. We usually do an international trip every year. Ladies released 9 sailfish, and for all of them, it was their first sailfish. And we caught a lot of other fish to eat as well, mahi, and we ran around in golf carts. It's a little island outside of Cancun. It's really fun. And there is a local chapter in Fort Lauderdale for people that are in South Florida if they want to join, and they produce fishing trips as well and meet every month. It's great to see everybody participating in the raffle and the meeting from other states. We have Ohio, Canaan, New York. We have Maryland, Wanda Litch Burns. And that is my wrap up for my beginning announcements. Bouncer, are you ready?
I gotta open one more package so you can see things better. I'll be ready.
Okay.
I have to ask, so when you go to Naples, are you going way offshore or are you fishing inshore?
Last time we went 20 miles offshore and we caught a couple hundred fish.
Wow, lane snappers and mangroves and stuff, or?
Oh yeah, and grouper, all kinds of fish. And it's a small boat, so I think it's limited to about 10.
Oh
So
yeah?
it usually sells out the first few days after we announce it.
When does that one go?
That's usually in March or April. So
Gotcha.
I still have to set up that. And
Yeah.
then for the prizes, we have the top prize is a hotel stay, 7 to 10 nights, up to 3 rooms. You can choose several resorts in Antigua, in the Caribbean, or Panama in the mountains. You do have to, it's just for the hotel stay, not your flight, not your ground transportation, just the hotel stay. You cover the meals per person. It's the per diem because they're all inclusive. So it's 100 to 300 per night per person, depending on your choice. So, and you have till June 2028 to book it, and I will provide that information to the winner. And we have a Yeti choice of some coolers, $100 in frog togs, get great rain gear, Hobie Mariposa floating sunglasses, which is really nice. Here's a pair. And if they fall overboard, you look down, they go boom, they float.
What brand is that?
Hobie.
Oh, is that right? The
Yep.
old Hobie, ages ago, I fished with them a couple of times, and they sent me a pair of glasses with Bouncer on the frame. It was pretty unique. It was quite an enjoyable thing to compliment.
Well, what's amazing is they float, but the frames look just like any other pair of sunglasses.
Well, they must
Are you
have an
ready,
air chamber
Bouncer?
in them somewhere.
Tell me when you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready. Are your
I'm turning
ladies
it over.
ready?
Let's talk about inshore lures for, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then offshore.
Well, I'll just talk until you tell me to shut up or change subjects.
Okay, and thanks all the people that have signed in. Take
I'm
it
going to
away.
start. I'm going to start. It was on social media quite a bit, but I was in Sebastian for a Sea Safe event, which is an organization sponsored by Starbright. And they held, in conjunction with Earth Day, they hold a event every year. In the last 3 years, it's been up at Sebastian Inlet. And on one of the days of they had a fishing tournament, and then they had a VIP tournament, and then they had a conservation day, where in the conservation day, everybody was learning how to raise mangrove trees to plant, and learning about clams and how they're renourishing the clams in the Indian River. But on Sunday afternoon, I went out with a really good fisherman, Adrian Gray, and he was supposed to record an interview with me for their graphic department. And we got so busy catching Jack Crevalles on surface plugs that we completely forgot about doing the recording. So we said, well, we'll go Monday afternoon. And Monday afternoon, we met at the boat ramp, and we get on the boat, and he says, yeah, we're going to throw some plugs along the shoreline before we do the interview. And he says, we're going to do the interview right there at those mangrove trees. And we get 100 feet from the mangrove trees, and he says, now this dock always has big snook, but they absolutely never bite. And I threw this big chartreuse, oh, it's a Rapala, what the heck, I forget it's a big Rapala walk the dog plug, where when you pull and give it slack, it'll go to the right and the left and the right and the left. And you might even be able to hear that it rattles. But at any rate, I threw this out. The sky was black because there was a rainstorm coming. The water in the Sebastian River is real dark. So I got this bright chartreuse plug, and a beautiful 25-pound snook came up and ate it 15 feet from the boat, right on top of the water, blasted a big hole in the water, jumped half a dozen times. It was one of the most exciting catches of my life. It was really, really amazing. But this is I hate it when I get old and I can't remember stuff, but this is a Rapala twitching wrap. That's what it is, the twitching wrap. And it comes in a couple of sizes. This is the big one. They also make a medium and a small. So very effective plug when you want to fish inshore on the surface, or for that matter, you could take off the treble hooks and put a single hook on the back, and it's deadly for mahi-mahi fishing. And nothing more exciting than going along a weed line, and if there's any dolphin around, you just work that plug across the surface quite rapidly, and the dolphin will come in just making a big wake, charging over to eat it, whether it's a 2-pounder or a 20-pounder. They're always fun when they come in on the surface plug. So that's the first plug we're talking about today, and that's the Rapala twitching wrap. Then These are lures that have really come on strong for me lately. This is a no live bait needed K-tail mullet. And they call it a K-tail because on the back of it, it's got notches that cause the tail to wiggle a lot more. Let me see if I can get, if the package is open, I just got to pull it apart. This K-tail, if you can see it, it has a flat surface on both sides, like it's sitting on those flat surfaces on my finger right now. But those cause a lot of water resistance, so the tail really works hard. And when a lure does that, it sends out vibrations in the water. You wouldn't think of it in our frame of thought that this would just be silent. But to a snook with that black stripe down the side, which is all about feeling vibration, and actually almost all the fish, they're really good at feeling vibration. And that vibration really fires them up. And there's two ways to rig this popularly. The one I like the best is you take a circle hook and just go in below the eyes and come out above the eyes, and it's all rigged and ready to go. If you wanted to get, if you were getting fish that were striking short, then you'd use a 6-0 or a 7-0 worm hook, one of the hooks with a little bend in it, and then it comes back and around to where the bend sits behind the eyes, and there's a slit in the belly for the hook to go in, and then the hook comes out and sits on top of the back. So you can, this is a medium, this is a 5-inch, and I can't tell you how many sea trout I've caught on that lure right there, and nice sized ones as well as even small ones. It's amazing. So many fish are real gluttons when it comes to what they'll eat. A fish that you would think would want a small bait, a lot of times wants a big bait. So this 5-inch has been really good for me. They make this all the way up to 9-inch. So if you're going for real big snook and stuff, it's real good for that as well. And then its little cousin, this is their mini mullet. Again, this is an LLBN. And this is what they call a limited batch because they came out with a special color for an event. And I fell in love with this green one. And the tarpon really, really like green. So that's how I've got in touch with it. But I've caught a lot of freshwater fish on this, as well as sea trout, mangrove snappers, and stuff like that. Again, just a circle hook through the nose or a worm hook back in the body, and it's very, very effective.
Bouncer Voodoo also supports Ladies Let's Go Fishing, egret baits. And
they
have
great
mullet,
baits.
and they have all different sizes of artificial shrimp.
Their shrimp, when I go to South Carolina, we rig our rod with 2 voodoo shrimp. One's on, you go to you tie a loop knot, like a 4-turn uni knot in your, or overhand knot in your line, and you cut it to where one end will be 8 inches or 10 inches long, and the other end will be 20 inches long. And you tie a voodoo shrimp on both of those, and you work that along the bottom. In South Carolina, we catch sea trout, we catch flounder, we catch redfish, croakers, everything you can think of that you could catch in South Carolina inside. That voodoo shrimp is deadly. And then,
if you can see them, I don't know about my background, but they have.
well, they're coming in and out. It seems like you got to hold them really still. But
let me change my background here.
But that voodoo mullet, Dennis Forgione used to troll that for the tunas a lot. Again, he would change it from a little treble hook to a little bit bigger single J hook, and he caught a lot of tunas trolling that little that voodoo mullet. Now,
okay, that didn't work so well.
But just hold it real still. Just hold this. The shrimp is real good to see right now, and we can't see the other one. But that's the voodoo shrimp. They come in all different colors. We generally use 2. There's their mullet. Generally when we use the shrimp, we use 2 different colors. That way, if they have a preference on one day or another, you got a couple colors going at the same time. So Very, very effective though. And a lot of times, trick with those is every once in a while you put a larger one and a smaller one on. You'll have the larger one to get you casting distance and the smaller one to where the fish, you'd be amazed. 150-pound tarpon will be eating 2-inch shrimp and he'll ignore a 4-inch shrimp. And the same thing can happen with all fish. They get into a pattern where they're feeding on a certain size bait. It makes all the difference in the world. And that's one of the handy things about the voodoo shrimp. They're very durable. They come in loads of colors and several different sizes. So always got a purpose that they can work for you. I'm glad you brought them because I didn't run across one real quick. And I was, as you know, I forgot to bring my lures and I had to run out in the tackle room and grab some. So they're really great lures. Another lure that we're using a lot in the fresh water is this is a pop shad. And a pop shad is a unique little lure in that you rig it with a this size right here, you rig it with a 6-0 worm hook. Again, that's that one with a little bend in the front. And you go in the nose and out just 1/4 inch back. And then you bring the hook all the way through. So just that little angled cut is inside the head. And again, it's got a slit in the belly. It'll show you where to put the hook in. And there's a slit on the back so you know that it's centered. You want to make sure that it lays straight on the hook. And this lure, when you pop it, it pops and it dives down a couple inches. Then it slowly rises back up. And you pop it and it dives down and it slowly rises back up. And that.
Can you hold it a little higher, Bouncer?
Yeah, you bet.
There you go.
There you go. That pop shad is really, really one of our hot baits. We use it mostly for bass, but again, it's another trout lure that's real good for trout and smaller snook and stuff like that, but very, very effective. That guy catches a lot. When I go bass fishing anymore, that's on my rod when I start, no matter what, because I love topwater fishing. The explosions and stuff are really inspirational. And then when we come to the newest and the latest and greatest to me on the inshore scene, R&R Lures came out with a ladyfish almost a year ago. It's called the Naughty Lady, and she's a big lure. But I'll tell you what we did with her. The first time we tried her, we went in Biscayne Bay. We put out 3 live mullet and 1 R&R ladyfish. And we were slow trolling, and I had rigged the ladyfish with a circle hook in front of her nose. And we had 3 mullet and the ladyfish out, and the first big tarpon ate the ladyfish. And every once in a while, they catch the leader just right in the corner of their mouth, and they cut it like a pair of scissors. And we didn't have our ladyfish anymore. And I haven't been tarpon fishing since then. But since then, they've come out with a smaller model of the ladyfish. So now they have the giant ladyfish and the smaller ladyfish, and they come out in numerous colors. And they rig by going in the nose, out the throat. There's a tube that your line goes through. And then they come with a treble hook. You just tie onto your leader and you're ready to go. But if you wanted that circle hook application, then it's a special rig that we make up to make that work. And I didn't have one handy, so I didn't bring it in. But these ladyfish have been really, really good. The big one has produced loads of big snook and plenty of tarpon. And now the smaller one, not only will it catch fish that are not quite as big, but the big ones lead it too, but also another advantage with the smaller one is that you can cast it with lighter tackle, because the big one's pretty heavy and it takes a pretty stout fishing outfit just to throw it any distance. But really, really good. Those are from Ray Rocher, and they're called the Naughty Lady or Snook Candy. And they can't make up their mind which one they want to have it, so they bounce back and forth between the 2 of them. But R&R Tackle, Betty, as you know, is a local company in Miami, and very, very, very productive company. They make all your sabiki rigs and stuff like that as well.
Do you have more inshore lures or do you want to move on to offshore?
I have one more that's both. Actually, I have two more. One more strictly inshore. They talk a lot about throwing frogs for bass these days. And this is a toad. A toad doesn't float as much as a frog does. It's not hollow, it's solid rubber. And it's a smaller profile. But I was throwing a frog for a couple of years and never caught a bass on it. My friends caught big bass on it, but I never caught one. I switched to a toad, and the first time I used a toad, I caught 3 bass in short order when nobody else caught a fish on the boat, so I felt pretty good about it. Another company that I ran into up at the ICAST, I was running around the aisles just before the show opened, and I went by this booth and I slammed on my brakes. We're coming up to a time of year where, well, right now the glass minnows are on the beach. So to catch fish when they're eating glass minnows, you got to have a really, really small lure. And then shortly, there's going to be little bitty minnows offshore, and the tunas and the bonitas are going to be eating them. And the tunas are big enough to make a sandwich, and the bonitas are just the right size to put out for bait. And this Perry Bait Company, I saw this little spoon. This is 1/4 ounce. It'll throw them on an 8 or 10 pound spinning rod quite a ways. And very, very effective for those fish that are eating glass minnows on the beach, as well as for the bonitas and tunas offshore. And the same company, now this is their, I think this is a 1 ounce. The same company makes them all the way up to 6 ounces. So you can vertical jig with them. You can cast them and retrieve them in a shallower water. You don't want to cast them where there's rocks on the bottom. But if you got a grass bottom or a sand bottom, or if it's fairly deep, you can fish these for a wide variety of fish. As much as you and your partner used to fish over on the West Coast, I imagine you threw spoons for snook and stuff quite a bit. And this spoon just catches my eye. It's just a beautiful profile of the sardine. And Betty, as you well know, if you offer any game fish, a sardine or a pilchard or a herring, he's always going to take the sardine first. And those are perfect knockoff of them. And then the smaller ones are perfect for glass minnows. So that's my quick rundown on the inshore. We are coming up on a key time of year for inshore fishing. Don't forget that any day now, if you're up towards Fort Pierce and stuff, you're going to start to see a lot of mullet. And when you get into those mullet, that K-tail mullet and that little mullet I showed you, which come in a wide variety of sizes, are very, very effective for fishing artificial lure around those schools of mullet. And while we're on that topic, if you get on those schools of mullet, and there's the greatest natural fireworks in the world when the tarpon and the sharks are crashing in the school and they're showering in all directions. It looks like fireworks. But when you get into that situation, if you have a opportunity where they won't bite for you, just take a mullet, cut it in half, hook it to either end, and just throw it down there and let it sink under the school of mullet. Because there's barracudas and sharks and bluefish in there that are chopping mullet in half. And when those fish got a full stomach and they're just playing with the mullet to have fun, half a mullet that doesn't run away from them is an easier meal than a live mullet that they can't tell from the other mullets. So if you get in those schools of mullet and you fish a live mullet, you can't get a bite. Fish a lure, can't get a bite. Go with half a mullet. It'll do the trick for you. So Betty, I'm going to move offshore here. I almost got to go to Pulley Ridge. If the ladies don't know where Pulley Ridge is, it's 180 miles from Marco. Or no, I'm sorry. It starts at 150 miles from Marco, and it goes out to 200 miles from Marco, or it's 150 or 160 miles from Key West. And I was over there, and we were trying to get to Pulley Ridge, and it got too rough, so we stopped early. But I was using this slow pitch jig. It's called a Widowmaker, and this is a Grim Pilchard. And this bait looks so much like a pilchard in the water. When you give it slack, when you're down near the bottom, it just goes like this, flashes like crazy. It looks just like a pilchard. And I mean to tell you, it is deadly. It's an Angler Company lure, and it comes in a variety of sizes from a 30 gram, which would be really effective around the jetties and stuff, along the beach, even in the deeper bays and stuff on the inside. But where I have my problem with them is that as they get lighter, they get smaller. So at the 30 gram size, it's pretty small to excite the kind of fish I want to catch, unless elephants are eating peanuts, and then it's great. But the one I was using offshore was a 150 gram, and it would get me to the bottom all the way out to 200 feet of water. I caught a 28-pound African pompano on it. I caught amberjacks on it, and just really, really thrilled with the lure. And then they make another bait, which I'm a big match to hatch kind of guy. So there's my pilchard. And those of us who bottom fish a lot know that groupers and snappers and cobia and amberjacks, one of their favorite foods is pinfish. And you'll never find a bait that looks more like a pinfish than the imposter jig. It's by the same company, which is Angler Co., Angler Company, Angler Co. And this is their pinfish. And they make the pinfish all the way up to 600 grams. So it's very effective out to 600, 700, 800 feet of water.
Large
And again,
Boat also makes some really great, real looking lures that make noises. They have sound in them.
yeah. Another thing that Angler Company just came out with, which I haven't got yet, they just came out with a popping plug, which the offshore poppers for the bigger tunas and stuff have gone crazy the last few years. But I know you fished with Wayne Kahn before, and Wayne used to throw chuggers all day long when the big kingfish were around in the spring, and the skyrocketing strikes were amazing. And when I was working on head boats when I got out of high school, I would, in the springtime when we get tailing conditions, I'd fish on the head boat and I'd throw a popping plug straight inshore and just wind it back to the boat and throw it and wind it. And if there's a nice dolphin come by, you get them. And if the tunas come by, the tunas eat up those popping plugs. So a lot of use for them these days. Another bait that just came out from Angler Co. is their squid bait. And it's really funny. I posted a picture of an Angler Co. squid, and my buddy sent back and said, "Hey, that thing looks just like a squid. They did a good job. It's got the bulging eyes. It's got the creases for the tentacles. But a lot of times the fish out there eating squid, especially down near the bottom. And I'm looking forward to fishing that lure, which I have not fished yet." On the subject of things I haven't used yet, I was just out of high school. I was working on a head boat in downtown Miami at Pier 5. And I was sharpening a knife, holding a stone in my hand, which is gray material, and you drag your knife back and forth across it to sharpen it. And I hit a scale and I slashed my wrist. Didn't hit the right spot, fortunately, or I guess it hit the right spot, didn't hit the wrong spot. But at any rate, I was panic stricken. I had cut my wrist. I thought for sure I was going to bleed to death before I got to the doctor's office. But at any rate, I've never been good at sharpening knives ever since. I use those V-bladed carbide things that you drag down the knife, and they sharpen pretty good, but they ruin the knife in pretty short order. Well, 2 years ago, I met a company called Relentless USA, Relentless Knives USA. And they make knives. I hope you can see that, but the very edge of that knife is black. And this is a titanium knife, and that black strip along the edge is carbide and diamond dust. And it works on the principles of a beaver, in that a beaver, his outside of his teeth, the enamel's real hard. And on the inside of the teeth, it's soft. So when they're chewing on wood, they're slowly wearing down the soft side and almost no wear on the front side. Well, it's a very thin material. So when they're wearing down the back side, it keeps sharpening it. They never have to sharpen their teeth. They don't have a stone. They don't have one of those carbide sharpeners. Just chewing on the wood, the way their mouth is made, the teeth are made, keeps sharpening the knife. Well, Relentless Knives, again, it's all titanium. It's got this real hard line on this edge, and it's soft titanium on the other edge. And that knife works on the same principle as a beaver. And I have several sizes of this. I don't have to sharpen any of them. They're sharp out of the box, and you fillet fish and you steak fish and you cut bait, and they just stay sharp endlessly. And the good thing, two good things about it, the company's in Tampa. And if you ever did damage your knife in any way, like you sharpened the side that had the black strip, which says right on it, do not sharpen, or you were trying to cut nails with it and you damaged the blade or whatever may happen, you send it back to Tampa and they completely recondition your knife for you so it's ready to go again. And this is their skeletal knife, or the skeleton knife. This thing weighs about 1/8 of an ounce. And it comes with a sheath. So when you're backpacking or you're going fishing on the beach and you want to travel light, this Relentless knife is hard to beat. And again, they come from this little guy all the way up to 9 inches long. And they also make knives for skinning and dressing animals as well. Pretty complete line. They're working on a pocket knife now, but they haven't got that out yet. It's going to be in the near future, but really good company, Relentless Knives USA. And every part of them is made in the United States, and the company is owned by a Marine with 30 years of service. So we're helping out a serviceman and getting a great product at the same time. I do want to mention one other lure brand. This is a Johnny jig. And the last time I went fishing before I came back to Georgia, I went out with Paul Castanovo's son, the radio announcer, and his son had never caught a cobia. And mind you, he was born and raised in Broward County, and he's an avid fisherman, but he never caught a cobia. And we did some trolling for wahoo, and we didn't catch any, and bonitas and sailfish were biting the planers like crazy, but we didn't get any wahoo bites. And we stopped to do a couple of jigs with the slow pitch jigs, and he dropped down that Johnny jig, and he caught his first cobia ever. Now, he doesn't do much jigging, and he never caught a cobia, and on a jig, he caught a cobia, so he was thrilled. And his buddy had never done anything anywhere near like jigging. He had a hard time figuring out how to fish a planer for the first 3 months he was fishing, but he's gotten good at that. But at any rate, AJ's buddy, we decided it was time to go home, and we were marking some fish in the mid-range, which we figured were tunas, and his buddy winding up his slow pitch jig and working it very erratic and winding fast. He finally got the hang of it. He looked like a champ, and he hooked a sailfish on the Johnny jig. Unfortunately, the fish came up under the boat to where the line came up right through the motors, and we got the line cut. But very exciting.
Can you tell them how you use a jig? Like you know,
there's 3 important things when you're jigging. First of all,
let me add before you go on, because right now, because of all the weeds, sometimes people use jigs because they can't troll. So you go on.
Well, one of the important things about jigs is that it extends your tuna season to no end. And if you go near a wreck, they catch Almaco jacks really good, which are very good eating. There's no size limit. So you catch a lot of them and you throw in a few snappers and groupers. They can really save your day when nothing's biting on the surface. But with a jig, now like the Angler Co., they always tell you to tie your hook to the tail of the jig on the fixed ring. See the ring that's right there molded into the tail, you tie right to that. Their lures are balanced, so that's how they swim the best. A lot of these jigs, doesn't make any difference which end you use, but the bottom line is when you drop them, you want to put just a little bit of pressure on your spool, because then they'll go straight down fast. When you get down to the bottom, let them lay on the bottom for a minute if you're not right on a wreck. And then you'll sweep your rod up and out, and the lure will go flying up off the bottom. And then when you give it complete slack, don't put any pressure on it, it'll flutter back down to the bottom, flashing and sparkling, and it really, most of them are glow in the dark besides. And it'll act like a bait fish that tried to come back to life, jumped up and finally was too weak to swim, and he settled back down to the bottom. You do that a couple of times. Then the next thing you want to do, or if you're close to a wreck, you got to do this the first time, is you jig up and you wind down. And you jig up and you wind down. You do that about 3 times. That'll get your bait about 15 to 30 feet off the bottom, depending on the length of your rod and the retriever your reel. So that bait gets up off the bottom. And if a grouper or an amberjack chases it up, he'll be going away from the wreck. So when he hits it, he won't be right down at the wreck. He'll have a chance at stopping him before he gets into the wreck. But the bottom line is, the important part is that in between, you always want to go completely slack so your lure flutters like this. If you keep a little pressure on it, just goes straight down. So always get a little slack when it's going back down. But at any rate, so you start off, you laid it on the bottom, and then you let them look at it for a minute, because they felt it coming down, and they're looking at it, and they're looking, all of a sudden it comes to life, look, it's going to get away. That's a reaction strike. And then the second thing is where it's coming completely back to life and it's taken off of the surface. That fires another reaction strike. And then what the kid was doing when he hooked a sailfish, and what they do a lot catching tunas, is they'll jerk up, wind down, jerk up, wind down, jerk up, wind down. The faster you can do both things in unison, the better the tunas like it. But I got good news for you. You take a guy who's never fished a jig before, never had any kind of impact like that before, and he'll still catch plenty of tunas and Almaco jacks, doing his best effort at going really, really fast. But he won't be as fast as a guy like A.B. Raymond, who makes it look like a blur. But these vertical jigs, I'll tell you, they're just so effective for our
Can I ask
fishing
you a
today.
question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, not everybody has like a slow pitch jigging rig. Can you use what kind of rods and reels do you use for jigging? Like conventional, spinning, how big?
The most important thing to do is the reel has to have braid on it. You can't use mono and do a good job of jigging. So it can be anything. It can be a spinning outfit. AB uses all spinning outfits. What you would think was an outfit to go for sea trout or largemouth bass, 3,000 or 4,000 size reel with a 7-foot medium light action rod. That's what he fishes all of his jigs on. And he used his 20-pound braid on them, and he puts a piece of 30-pound fluoro on the end, and that's what he uses. Now, myself, I catch almost all of my fish on a standard bait casting outfit, any number of different reels, Shimano, Penn, Fathom. Low profile Fathom is a real good reel for it. The Squall is fine for it. But they're reels that you would think of for casting for snook or bass or sea trout or stuff like that, and just a medium action rod. Now, one of the nice things about it is that you can buy a Penn Battle, as an example, for a little over $100, rod and reel. And a slow pitch outfit, you can rarely find one that's less than $1,000. So, especially when you're starting out, start off with something simple. But when you get serious about it, I'll tell you, you can't beat going to Johnny Jig's store to learn everything you want about it. He has hand crank reels, he has electric jigging reels, he has the spinners, he has the ball bearing swivels that you want to rig on your jigs. He's got all the assist hooks, everything you could possibly want. So,
Can
and
you
he's
use
up.
like a Pen 20N, like the narrow, or
A 20 is a little bit heavy. You'd be better off if you could find one of the little graphite reels. Like I say, the low profile Fathom, they make one plenty big enough. I think it's called the 300. And I use a 200 to give you an idea. But you want a relatively light outfit, because like I have a torque on a bottom fishing rod. And I use that as my heavy jigging outfit, because if you're going out in 800 or 900 feet of water, you're going to be using lures that weigh a pound, and you can't move them with a light rod. So I fish that just for that kind of fishing, and it's not as hard to work, because basically you go down to the bottom, you fish within 20, 30 feet of the bottom till you're ready to wind it all the way up and drop it down again. So for that fishing, a heavier outfit would be okay. But for your general slow pitch jigging for blackfin tunas and Almaco jacks and stuff like that, a 4,000 size spinning reel on a medium 7-foot spinner rod is really all you need. You put 20-pound braid on it. Now, I will tell you that a lot of the guys that really do a lot of it, they have an outfit, they'll have 10-pound braid on one of their outfits, so that if the current's running real strong, they can use that lighter line and still stay pretty vertical. But by the same token, when you go to really light line, it's like when I went to Pulley Ridge, or almost Pulley Ridge, in one spot, I hooked 2 big bottom fish, one on my light rod, had him on for 3 or 4 minutes. And he says, well, enough of this game. He swam over and cut me off in the bottom. Then I dropped my heavy outfit, which has got 50-pound braid on it, and it's a bottom fishing rod, and it's a dual speed reel. You'd think I'll be able to manage them on that. I dropped that down with the imposter jig and got him on, fought him 3 or 4 minutes. He said, okay, enough of this foolishness. He went over and got me. I swear it was the same rock, because we were spot locked in position. So he just swam over the same spot and cut me off on the bottom as well. So you don't want to go too light, but you want to be light enough that you can work the jigs appropriately. And then
we have about 5 more minutes. Is that enough for you to finish up?
Oh yeah, I mean, I could talk for the rest of the night, or I can.
We can listen.
But want to remember, in the next few months, there's gonna be a lot of baby bonitas around. And if you take a little bitty spoon like that Perry spoon, and you see these little bonitas busting on top, you take your little light spinning rod, throw it over where they're jumping on top, and just let it sink a little bit and wind it. You catch these bonitas. If you have a rod on the boat that's rigged, ready to go, you want a number 7 wire leader about 3 feet long with a swivel. Then you want to go to a circle hook, about a 7 or 8/0 circle hook. And then from that circle hook, you want to take another piece of wire and go about 8 or 9 inches to a 1/0 or 2/0 treble hook. And when you catch that little bonita, you hook him, go in his mouth and come out the roof of his mouth, take the treble hook and put it in the side, and let him out behind the boat and drag him around. You can't let him sit still, because they'll drown because they can't drag your line around. But if you keep towing them, they'll stay alive. And let me tell you, wahoo survive eating bonitas. So if you can catch these little bonitas that start to show up this month and they stay all the way through to November, we call them flippers in Miami, bullets in Fort Lauderdale. They're baby false albacore is what they are. But those things are deadly this time of year. And if you just can't get a bite on the top or you catch plenty of them, you can always drop one down to the bottom. And if there's a big grouper or amberjack or Cubera snapper, even a Warsaw grouper you might catch, drop these live bonitas down on the bottom and they are deadly. And if they die, or the ones that do die, you fillet them from the tail up, leave the head attached to the two fillets, drop those down on the bottom, and they're really good for groupers and big mutton snappers. So take advantage of those little bonitas. They can really, really produce some fantastic fish for you. So Betty, I could spend all night or I can answer some questions from ladies, whatever you got. I'm ready to go.
Okay, what I'd like to do, and just stay with us, let me do the drawing. And you ladies, if you have questions, get those ready. And as soon as we're finished with the drawing, we'll get back to Bouncer, if that's okay.
And I'm going to duck over and grab my power cord because I already got told I was running out of juice. So I'll be right
do
back.
that. I'm going to do the drawing and then we'll open it up to questions.
You bet.
Okay, so let me work on this sharing. Can you all see it? Nod or something. Okay, we
Yes.
got one nod. Okay. Here
Yes.
is, thank you. Here's the drawing, and you can see how I did it, because that's why I end the tickets early. Because see, for instance, Wanda Lynch Burns, she got 5 tickets, so she has 5 entries, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Laura got 12. Kim got 12. So everybody has more chances because each one is on one line. So here's all the names. And when I do the drawing, we're going to, like, the name on the top is a winner. So this one is for the first prize. That's the certificate for either Antigua or Panama. So here we go. Begin the giveaway. Begin. And the winner is Mitty Ramos. Okay, I've got to write these down. So I will be in touch with Mitty because I don't think she's here. Are you here, Mitty? Okay, well, I'll be in touch with you, Mitty, for your choice. The next one is for the Yeti cooler. You can choose a Tundra 35 hard cooler, Yeti Hopper Flip 8 or 12 soft cooler, and it's worth a few $100. So the next round, we'll see who ends up on top. Let's see. People can win more than once. Kane and Myers, congratulations.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And I will get with you on what you choose, and we'll send that to Yeti. The next one is for 2 $50 certificates for frog togs. And I'm telling you what, I go on the boat with frog togs every time. They have
Me
woven.
too.
Yeah, they have woven and non-woven. The non-woven kind of feels like paper. However, the non-woven are of a type where, if you leave them, you can leave them in your car. They can get warm. The woven, any like Columbia, all woven rain jackets. If you leave them in your car and your car get hot, it breaks the seals and you will get some water through the broken seals and they're finished. So the next one is for frog togs. Susan Wagner, congratulations. You hear, Susan? Okay. And the next one is for the Hobie Mariposa floating sunglasses. And thanks for everybody for buying raffle tickets. Number 1, Dawn Pomagee. Congratulations.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah, like I said, Dawn Pomagee was our big winner for the Antigua trip. Where did you go, Dawn?
We went to the veranda in Antigua.
Yeah, and you fished off the beach and caught like some bonefish or something?
Yes, Brian and I caught bonefish, barracuda,
And a giant stingray.
and a giant stingray. It was
Hi.
fun.
And some of those like Antigua, you can book deep sea fishing as one of the excursions.
Yes.
Extra charge. I looked at it. It's like $500 for a half day, and then it goes up for a 3/4 day per person. So, but Antigua's pretty, isn't it?
Absolutely gorgeous, and the fresh seafood was delicious. I mean, it was a wonderful
Food
8
was
days
good.
away. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then we have these occasionally on our auctions too. And they start at like $150. And remember, it's 7 to 10 nights, and you can choose less or more, and you can get up to 3 rooms, so you can bring other people. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and open it up. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, Bouncer Smith, why don't you tell them a few things about you? And people just type in, unmute yourself if you want to ask him a question, because Bouncer Smith is a legend. A lot of people, maybe younger people, haven't heard from him about him, but I can tell you, we fished against him in tournaments, and he is formidable.
We had a lot of fun, that's for sure. I was in the fishing business full time for 54 years, predominantly Miami, Fort Lauderdale, but I did go to Italy and teach sword fishing, and I ran a swordfish tournament in the Cayman Islands for 12 years. I fished out Ocean City, Maryland, and Oregon Inlet, and took a boat to Cozumel back in the olden days when you navigated by a compass and a chart. We didn't even have any of that fancy Loran stuff or anything on the boats, but just the greatest opportunity in the world, the greatest job in the world. Raised a son, had a beautiful wife, and for family reasons, my sister had some grandkids that needed some grandparents in their life. So we moved up here to Marietta, Georgia when I retired. And now I come to South Florida 3 times a year and try to get to the Carolina coast at least once a year, but still fishing hard. I haven't gotten enough of it yet. As Betty well knows, and a lot of your ladies do know, I had a boat called Bouncer's Dusky. I had a 25-footer for 20 years, and I had a 33 footer for the next 20 years, and outboard motors, and just fantastic opportunities. I'd go sail fishing for 8 hours during the day, come in and drop off my people, clean up a couple mahi or tuna or whatever they caught on the side, and then I'd go back and go tarpon fishing for 4 hours. And when we were tarpon fishing with live shrimp off of Miami Beach, we rarely went that we didn't catch at least 3 fish over 50 pounds on a 4-hour trip. It was just fantastic fishing. And that fishing still exists today. There's some very good guides around the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area that if you want something to do, if you want to entertain a client or something at night, get a hold of one of these guys, Leo Lambera, A.B. Raymond, Ryan Raspberry, Jeff Maggio. They all run these evening tarpon trips, just 4 hours, and you can entertain a guest from up north after a hard day of work, or you can entertain a client, whatever you want to do, and you're going to have fun. It's going to be easy fishing. It's not very far from the dock usually, and very, very productive. And it runs all the way from Thanksgiving until the end of June, even sometimes into July. And then on top of that, I also did a lot of sword fishing, both day and night. I highly recommend the night if you're trying to catch a world's record, because fighting them when they're down 100 to 200 feet is much easier than when you're fighting when they're down 1,800 feet, which could be sometimes having 3,000 feet of line out and a 300-pound fish on the other end. It's a pretty daunting place to start. But if you go at night where you're fishing near the surface, it's much easier to try for a tournament legal catch, which is, one person has to pick up the rod, hook the fish, fight the fish, and nobody can touch the rod until they grab the leader. So really, really, it's still a great opportunity, especially from October through May to go sword fishing. And then when the sailfish weren't biting, or for that matter, if the tarpon weren't biting in the late summer, then in the daytime we did a lot of wreck fishing, and at night we did a lot of snook fishing. So we were always busy, always having fun, just really good times, that's for sure.
I have some questions and I'm gonna open it up to the other ladies. There's two questions. What knot would you tie when using braid directly to a lure? That's from Dawn Parmagee.
If you're tying your braid directly to the lure with no shock leader at all, then I would usually use a 6 or 8 turn uni knot.
Yeah.
That's the easiest and it's very dependable. I generally speaking, it's an interesting thing you asked that, because I got schooled by my bass fishing buddy when I was down in Florida last time, because my pop shad wouldn't work right. That lure that I showed you, the brownish color one, I said pops and then dives. I couldn't get it to pop right. And he says, well, you got a fluorocarbon leader on there and it pulls it down. You got to take that leader off because it's making your lure pull down instead of pulling across the surface. So if you're using a pop shad, they say you should definitely go with straight braid. But other than that, in almost all applications, I highly recommend 3 feet of fluorocarbon. And I just, in the last couple months, mastered the FG knot. And it took me forever because I just never had gotten involved in it. But it's such a dependable connection between your braid and your fluorocarbon or your mono. It's really, really the best way to go. Slides right through the guides. There's no bulk to it whatsoever. But if you haven't mastered the FG knot, then I caught a jillion fish on double uni knots to tie my fluorocarbon or my mono to my braid. So that'll get the job done in the meantime.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have another question from Carrie, and then you guys are welcome, just ask your questions. She fishes skinny water and shoreline, Halifax, Indian River, and creeks. What are the different species in if you fish there, and how do you decide lures and retrieve techniques?
Well, every day is different, and the clarity of the water and the choppiness can have a bearing. As an example, when we're fishing a mangrove shoreline or a grass flat, early in the morning, slick glass calm, we try to fish lures that don't have rattles. As an example, you can get a zero spook that rattles and a zero spook that doesn't rattle. You can use a twitch and wrap, and they have ones that rattle and ones that don't rattle, and they have all these different lures have a silent mode and a noise mode. And that difference is that when it's a very, very still morning, those fish don't have any problem hearing that plug plop into the water or splashing left and right as you're retrieving it. So on those real still mornings, a lot of time you don't want any rattles involved. If it's windier, if it's choppier, then you want the rattles because it helps the fish locate the bait. Where the splashing is muffled by the waves, the rattle can work through the wave patterns and gives a different sound so the fish attract to it. Now, one thing you want to remember, and it's very, very important when you're doing this, is to try different speeds to retrieve. If we're fishing with any lure for bass or snook or for sea trout, will start out with a medium speed retrieve. And most of the time that'll be very effective. But you may find that some days you can work a lure across the grass flat and never get hit by a trout. But the first time you stop to scratch your head or adjust your glasses or adjust your hat, first time you stop, they'll jump all over the lure. They were actually tracking the lure, but they didn't commit until they almost overran it, and then they eat it. It's just like tarpon. Tarpon, they tell you to use a very steady retrieve. Well, early on in my career, I found out that I was throwing a mirror lure, and I was winding it steady, and the tarpon were trying to eat it when I lifted it out of the water, and they were 100-pounders in East Cape Canal down in Flamingo. And I realized after a while that I had to do something to get them to bite before they got to the side of the boat. So I would wind it at a comfortable speed, and I'd give 2 real quick cranks. Or I would stop for a second. But breaking that cadence can frequently get a fish to commit. Now, if you happen to be in a place where there's jack crevalles or bonitas or tunas or even dolphin, the worst thing you can do is let those fish study the bait. They want to feel like it's getting away. So if you're getting boils behind your bait and they're not committing, you got to try to go faster. On those fish that are up on top. When you're dolphin fishing, one of the most important things you can do, if you said, well, we're going to go out today and we're going to throw lures for dolphin, have everybody start with a white lure or a silver lure, one or the other, pretty much the same thing in the water. And everybody uses the same color. And then when the dolphin quit biting white, you switch to yellow. And when they quit biting yellow, you switch to green. And every time everybody switches, a lot of times those fish will turn on again because they knew what a white lure got to know what don't ask me how they talk to each other, but the ones in the boat tell the ones in the water that don't bite the white ones anymore. So change colors in a pattern. Don't just have when you're dolphin fishing, don't have everybody start with a different color, because then when they turn off of white, yellow, and green, you got nothing left to go with. And when it comes to which lure to fish, especially inshore, whether it's going to be on the surface or just below the surface or down near the bottom, generally speaking, early in the day and very late in the afternoon, surface will be fantastic, the greatest strikes in the world. When it gets to be a little bit hotter on the surface, a lot of times the fish will move, they won't come to the surface anymore. They'll only eat baits that are swimming below the surface. So like if you're on a grass flat, you might go to we were talking about earlier, the shrimp. Betty, help me out here. The voodoo shrimp. You might go to the voodoo shrimp or the voodoo mullet, and that bait will run subsurface. And therefore, when the fish are getting where they don't like the bright sun in their eyes or they don't like the heat on the surface, they get those lures that are running deeper. And then if the fishing gets really slow or if it's really cold, you got to fish baits really, really slow and very near the bottom. And then you'll want to go with weedless applications. You use a freshwater bass hook, worm hook in a rubber bait, and you can drag it right through the grass on the bottom or drag it right through the sand on the bottom when those fish are lethargic because the water's hot or the water's cold. That bait right down on the bottom will get them to commit when nothing else will. So it all depends.
We were in the Keys and just kind of messing around and stopped at a weed line. And just for fun, I cast one of the voodoo shrimps out. Yeah. And a 40-pound dolphin came up from underneath the weed line. But of course, I had light tackle, so that wasn't going to happen. And then after that, how big was that marlin, Chuck?
We had a wahoo and a marlin come up.
Yeah, a marlin came up and turned
250.
Yeah, 250, turned on his side. We saw his stripes, but it was just one of those things you never forget.
Yeah.
Anyways, do any of the other ladies want to ask Captain Bouncer a question, because we're getting ready to wrap up? You can unmute yourself. This is your chance to ask one of the foremost anglers in the world a question.
Besides me.
Oh, my husband's going, yeah, besides me. He's back listening to
Hey,
you.
Bouncer.
How's it going, Captain?
Good. How you been?
I've been doing great.
You look good.
Although I have to admit, I went fishing last week one day, and I went this morning, and both trips, when I get my first bite, it'll be the next one. I mean, the next one will be the first one.
Yeah.
But I got a place that I drive an hour from home up here in Georgia, and every time I go, they're telling me about all the fish they catch, but I never seen a fish caught there other than the guys that fish on the boulders with live bait. But they catch a lot of fish up there on Zero Spooks, just not me.
Love those zero spooks in the morning and in the afternoon.
You better. Well, I've become more of a twitch and wrap guy myself. I seem to have more luck with them, but still I got plenty of Zero Spooks in my tackle box, and I got one on my rod right now. So
I always carry one already rigged up. You don't know what's going to take it. You know what I mean?
that's for sure. There and the strikes with a surface plug like that are insurmountable. People never fish them. You have to learn that whether it's a Zero Spook or a twitch and wrap or a Berkeley cane walker, any of those walk the dog plugs, you have to twitch and then drop your rod back towards the bait.
Yeah.
The twitch makes the lure glide forward, and the slack line allows it to turn off to the side. And it'll go left and right and left and right. And I got a friend, Adrian Gray, he can make a Zero Spook or a twitch and wrap. He can make it practically never come closer to the boat, just going left and right and left and right and left and right, just drive the fish crazy and not cover much ground, which really is effective.
Yeah, he's driving that thing all over the water, it sounds like.
Yes, sir.
Everybody makes a mistake and they try to yank on it when they boil on it. Just keep twitching it nice and slow.
That is the hardest thing in the world, though, is as you know.
I know.
And for the longest time, I had to throw my surface plug out there and start my retrieve and then look the other way. So I couldn't see the snook coming up behind it. And because they're suction feeders, all those fish, a lot of those fish on the surface, they open their mouths with such force that they're sucking a gallon of water and your lure into their mouth. And if you respond too quick, your lure's still in their open mouth and it comes right out and goes right by you, flying past you. So you gotta ignore the strike. You just gotta keep the retrieve going till your rod bends over.
Okay, I'm going to stop the live stream and then open it up for more questions. All right.
Just you and me tonight?
Yes. Yes. I have to do one more thing and we're ready to go.